The planet didn't have a name. Just a designation. Dry. Empty. Disposable. Lieutenant Elias Rourke lay half-buried in red dust, helmet cracked, oxygen readout blinking in a slow, cruel rhythm. 20%. 19. The evacuation window had closed 6 hours ago. A systems error. A miscount. One body left behind because paperwork said the bay was full. The sky was a bleached violet, stretched thin and endless. No wind. No sound. Silence so complete it pressed against his ears harder than vacuum ever had. Elias dragged himself upright. Every breath burned. The planet's gravity was just wrong enough to make standing feel like defiance. He keyed his calm again, even though he knew the answer. Rourke to Atlas. Anyone. Please. Static. Then nothing. He laughed once. It came out cracked and dry. The kind of laugh you make when hope has already packed up and left. Hours passed strangely. Time didn't move here. It pulled. Thick and heavy. Elias rationed breaths, curled near the shadow of a basalt outcropping, watching his suit temp drop degree by degree. His hands shook. His thoughts slowed. He thought of Earth. Of rain. Of warm metal decks and voices overlapping in mess halls. He thought of how quiet it had been when the launch bay doors sealed without him. By the time his vision began to blur, he accepted the truth. This was how it ended. Then the ground hummed. Not an earthquake. Something deliberate. Controlled. The dust lifted in soft spirals, glowing faintly as a shape descended from the sky, sleek, organic, impossibly smooth. It didn't roar. It whispered. Elias forced his eyes open. A figure stepped out. Tall. Slender. Skin a luminous pink, not neon, not soft, saturated, alive, like heat made visible. Her eyes caught the light wrong, refracting it. Studying him. She tilted her head. So, she said calmly, voice low and melodic through the thinning air. This is the one they abandoned. Elias tried to speak. Nothing came out but breath fogging the inside of his helmet. The alien crouched beside him with fluid control, movements precise, unhurried. No fear. No urgency. She touched his visor with 2 fingers. The material hissed, responding to her presence like it recognized authority. Your people leave quickly, she said. They do not look back. Her accent was unfamiliar, syllables shaped carefully, as if language itself had been learned rather than inherited. See, can you? Elias swallowed. Help. She studied him for a long moment. Not his suit. Not his injuries. Him. Yes, she said at last. But not because you ask. The visor disengaged. Cool air rushed in, sweet, breathable, wrong in the best possible way. Elias gasped, chest heaving. She steadied him with one hand against his shoulder. Her touch was warm. Too warm. Easy, she murmured. You are very fragile right now. Her proximity made it hard to think. She smelled faintly of something floral and sharp, like crushed leaves and ozone. Power hummed beneath her skin. Elias felt it before he understood it. Who are you? He asked. She smiled slightly. Not kind. Curious. My name, she said, is Larixa. And you are standing on a world my people do not share. She lifted him with surprising ease, one arm around his back, the other braced at his waist. His body reacted before his mind caught up. Awareness sparking, heat rushing where it had no business being. Larixa noticed. Her eyes flicked to his face. Your physiology responds quickly, she observed. Even when dying. Sorry, Elias muttered weakly. She laughed softly. Do not apologize. It is informative. Inside her craft, the air shimmered with soft light. Organic walls pulsed gently, like something breathing. She laid him down on a platform that adjusted itself to his weight, cradling him instead of restraining him. You were close, she said, hands moving over unseen controls. Another hour, and your heart would have slowed beyond recovery. Guess I owe you, he said. Larixa leaned closer, close enough that her breath brushed his cheek. Perhaps, she replied. But debts are not always paid the way humans expect. The craft lifted silently. The planet fell away beneath them, forgotten as easily as Elias had been. His strength returned slowly. Warmth seeped back into his limbs, guided by unseen currents humming through the platform. Larixa watched him the entire time, never blinking, never leaving. You're not taking me back to Atlas, he said finally. No, she agreed. Am I a prisoner? She considered the word. No. Am I free? Another pause. Longer this time. You are chosen, she said. That should have scared him. Instead, it grounded him. Larixa didn't speak in threats. She didn't need to. She stepped closer again. Her presence filled the room. Not aggressive. Intentional. My people study moments like yours, she said. Abandonment. Survival. What happens when a human is stripped of expectation? And what happens? Elias asked quietly. Larixa reached out, thumb brushing the line of his jaw, deliberate, testing. They become honest. The touch lingered. Too long to be accidental. Not long enough to be safe. Elias didn't pull away. Her gaze softened, just barely. Something like approval passed through her expression. You will recover, she said. And when you do, we will decide what you become next. He held her eyes. And if I don't like the decision? A smile curved her lips, slow, confident. Then, she said, straightening, you will try to survive me. The ship jumped to light. Elias exhaled, heart pounding. Left behind once. Not alone anymore. Time passed differently with Larixa. Days or hours, he couldn't tell. She brought him food calibrated perfectly to his needs. Watched him eat. Watched him sleep. Never touched him without reason. Which somehow made every brush of her fingers matter more. You could leave me somewhere safe, Elias said once. Trade station. Outpost. She tilted her head. You are already safe. That's not what I meant. I know. She stepped closer again. Always closer. Always just inside his space. My people do not rescue without purpose, Larixa said. We intervene when a life intersects with something larger. And what do I intersect with? He asked. Her eyes met his. Pink skin glowing softly in the ship's light. Me. The words settled between them. Heavy. Final. She reached out, resting her forehead briefly against his. No kiss. No claim. Just contact, intimate, deliberate, restrained. You were dying, she said quietly. I chose otherwise. Elias closed his eyes. Then I guess I'm yours. Larixa smiled. No, she corrected gently. You are with me. And for the first time since the launch bay doors closed, Elias believed he had survived for a reason. Larixa did not bind him. That was the first thing Elias noticed. No restraints. No fields. Just a subtle shift in gravity that kept him oriented, balanced, never quite able to forget where he was. The ship responded to her presence more than his. Doors parted when she approached. Light followed her like a quiet instinct. You trust me, Elias said once. Larixa paused mid-step. Looked back over her shoulder. No, she replied. I assess you. She guided him through a curved corridor that opened into a chamber unlike the others. This one was open. Transparent. Stars stretched endlessly beyond a thin energy veil, close enough to feel like they might bleed through. This was not a rescue route, she said. Your people do not chart this region. So you went out of your way, he said. Yes. She stepped closer, stopping just in front of him. Not touching. Never accidental. You were fading, Larixa continued. Your mind was still fighting even when your body had surrendered. That is uncommon. Elias met her gaze. You collect uncommon things? Her lips curved slightly. I protect them. Sometimes. She raised one hand. Light coalesced around her fingers, forming a translucent shape, a recording. The image showed him on the planet's surface. Alone. Kneeling. Still reaching for a signal that would never answer. You did not beg, she said softly. You did not rage. You endured. The image dissolved. In my culture, she went on, that moment grants a choice. A choice for who? Elias asked. For me. She stepped even closer now. He could feel her heat. Controlled. Dangerous. I chose not to let you disappear, she said. But understand this, survival changes ownership of a life. Elias's pulse quickened. You're saying I owe you. I am saying, she corrected, that you are no longer invisible. Larixa began to teach him. Not language, not yet. Movement. Awareness. How to stand when the ship shifted between vectors. How to breathe when the air composition subtly changed. How to read the low hum in the walls that warned of a jump before alarms ever sounded. She corrected him with touch only when words failed. A hand at his elbow. Fingers at the small of his back. Once a brief press of her palm against his chest when his balance faltered. Each contact precise. Measured. Intimate by restraint alone. You are distracted, she observed. By what? Elias asked, though he knew. By me. He didn't deny it. Larixa studied him, eyes flicking over his face like she was mapping a familiar constellation. Your species reacts strongly to presence, she said. Mine does not offer it lightly. Then why offer it at all? He asked. She leaned in. Close enough that his breath caught. Because you notice, she replied. The words settled deep. Later, as the ship drifted between stars, Elias found her standing at the observation veil again. She hadn't called for him. She rarely did. You could have left me on that planet, he said quietly. Yes. You could still drop me somewhere. Yes. But you won't. Larixa turned to face him fully now. Her expression unreadable. No, she said. Because what you survived has already altered you. She lifted one finger, hovering just short of his throat. And because, she added, voice lowering, you have not yet understood what I intend to make of you. Elias didn't move. Neither did she. The space between them pulsed with possibility. The ship slowed. Not stopping, hovering. Elias felt it in his bones before the view changed. Stars shifted. Space folded. A vast structure emerged from the dark, not a station, not a planet. Something grown. What is that? He asked. Larixa's gaze remained fixed ahead. A threshold, she said. Where my people decide what survives contact. With humans? Elias asked. With truths, she replied. She turned to him then, fully. No softness now. No testing. You were abandoned, Larixa said. Left to die because you were excess. A margin error. Elias swallowed. My people do not waste what endures, she continued. But endurance must be proven again. And if I fail? He asked. She stepped in, so close her forehead nearly touched his. Then I will mourn you, she said calmly. Briefly. The honesty in it was devastating. The ship began its descent. Larixa placed her hand flat against his chest, steadying, grounding. You were saved for a reason, Elias Rourke, she said. Now you will learn what that reason costs. The light outside flared. And the future opened its teeth. The structure was alive. Elias felt it the moment the ship crossed the threshold. Gravity shifted in subtle waves, like a heartbeat not meant for him. Light refracted through translucent walls that looked grown, not built. Shapes moved beneath the surface, silhouettes gliding with intent. Larixa stepped forward first. No hesitation. No armor. Stay close, she said. Not a request. They entered a vast chamber that opened downward instead of outward, a hollow cathedral carved from living crystal. Figures stood along the curved walls, tall, luminous, their pink hues ranging from soft rose to deep magenta. Eyes tracked Elias immediately. He felt naked without being exposed. "This is the witness ring," Larixa said. "You are not on trial." "That's comforting," Elias muttered. "You are being measured," she replied. "Worse." A voice resonated through the chamber. Not loud. Absolute. "This is the abandoned one." Elias stiffened. "The one left to thin air and silence." Larixa did not look at him. Her posture was proud. Defiant. "He endured," she said. "He did not fracture." A ripple passed through the figures. Not approval. Interest. "Endurance alone does not grant worth." Larixa turned then. Her eyes met Elias's. "Then let him choose," she said. A platform extended beneath his feet. The floor warmed, responding to his presence. "Human," the voice said. "You were saved. That debt is not owed to us." Elias swallowed. "Then to who?" Larixa stepped closer, standing beside him now, shoulder nearly touching his. "To yourself," the voice answered. "To what you become after survival." The platform began to descend. Larixa leaned in, voice low. "Do not look back." "I wasn't planning to," he said. She smiled, sharp, proud. The descent ended in darkness. Not empty darkness. Waiting darkness. The air pressed in, thick and charged. Elias felt his pulse in his ears. The platform dissolved beneath him, leaving solid ground, uneven, warm, responsive. "Larixa?" he called. Silence. Then the space shifted. Memories surfaced without warning. The red planet. The blinking oxygen counter. The sound of his own breath growing shallow. "You are not here to suffer," Larixa's voice echoed, distant but present. "You are here to confront." Shapes formed, not enemies, not illusions. Moments. Choices. The instant he realized no one was coming back for him. "You were discarded," the voice said. "What remains when worth is stripped away?" Elias clenched his fists. "I remained." The ground pulsed. Heat surged, not pain, not comfort. Pressure. Demand. He remembered standing. Forcing himself upright when lying down would have been easier. Remembered laughing when despair tried to claim him. "I didn't disappear," he said aloud. "Even when it would have been simpler." The darkness receded. Light returned slowly, revealing Larixa standing at the edge of the chamber, watching him like she had from the beginning. "You did well," she said. "That was your idea of mercy?" he asked hoarsely. She stepped closer. This time, she touched him freely. Hands at his shoulders, steadying him. "My idea of truth," she replied. Their closeness was different now. Not rescue. Not capture. Recognition. "You were broken open," Larixa said quietly. "That cannot be undone." Elias met her gaze. "Neither can being left behind." Her thumb brushed his collarbone, absent-minded, intimate. "No," she agreed. "But it can be repurposed." They stood together in the quiet aftermath. The witness ring watched in silence. No verdict announced. None needed. Larixa turned to face them, her posture unyielding. "He stays with me," she said. Not a plea. A declaration. A pause. Then the voice returned, softer now. "So claimed." Elias felt the words settle into him like gravity resetting. "What does that mean?" he asked her. Larixa looked at him, really looked at him, not as a subject, not as a curiosity. "It means," she said, "that you are no longer an accident." She stepped closer, forehead touching his lightly. No kiss. No urgency. Just connection, steady and deliberate. You were saved, she whispered. Not to be owned. Not to be hidden. Then what? Elias asked. Her eyes glowed faintly. To stand beside me, she said, and learn what we can become when either of us looks away. The chamber lights dimmed. The future waited. And for the first time since the launch bay doors closed, Elias stepped forward without fear. They did not leave immediately. Larixa led him away from the witness ring through corridors that narrowed, curved, then opened again into quieter spaces. Not ceremonial. Not public. Private arteries of the structure, where the hum softened and the light dimmed to a low rose glow. You could have refused, Elias said. Yes, she replied. And you could have broken. That wasn't really a choice, he said. Larixa stopped walking. Turned to face him. It was, she said calmly. Survival is instinct. Standing after survival is intention. She reached out and touched his wrist, fingers closing briefly, firmly. Not possessive. Anchoring. My people will watch you now, she continued. Some will see potential. Others will see contamination. And you? Elias asked. Her eyes lingered on his face longer than necessary. I see continuity, she said. Something that does not end where it should. They entered a chamber that felt, lived in. Not grown for display, but shaped over time. A resting platform curved against one wall. A wide aperture open to the stars, unfiltered. This is yours, Larixa said. Elias blinked. Mine? You will not be confined, she said. But you will not wander. Not yet. He nodded slowly. That sounds like trust with conditions. Her lips curved faintly. You learn quickly. She stepped closer again, close enough that he could feel the subtle heat radiating from her skin. You were measured, she said. And you were found compatible. With what? He asked. Larixa leaned in, her voice dropping. With me. Rest did not come easily. Elias lay awake, staring out at unfamiliar stars, feeling the structure breathe around him. He wasn't afraid. That unsettled him more than fear would have. He sensed her before he heard her. Larixa entered without announcement. No armor. No command insignia. Just herself. You should be sleeping, he said quietly. So should you, she replied. She stood near the opening, looking out. Her posture wasn't guarded. It was thoughtful. They will challenge this, she said. Me staying? Elias asked. You matter less than what you represent, she answered. A variable introduced by choice, not conquest. He sat up. And that threatens them? Yes. She turned, stepping closer, lowering herself to sit opposite him. Close enough now that neither of them pretended neutrality. I could send you away, she said. To somewhere safe. Forgotten. And you won't, Elias said. No, she agreed. Because they would still hunt the idea of you. She reached out, this time touching his face, fingertips along his cheekbone, studying the way he reacted. He didn't pull away. Your kind fears being unseen, she murmured. Mine fears being changed. Her thumb brushed just under his eye. Intimate. Careful. Which fear wins? He asked. Larixa held his gaze. That depends, she said, on whether you remain who you were on that planet, or become something more. The summons came without warning. A low harmonic vibration rippled through the structure. Larixa stood instantly, expression sharpening. It begins, she said. They entered the chamber together this time. Not separately. That mattered. The figures watched. Murmured. Evaluated. The human stands unbound. The voice noted. Yes, Larixa said. By my will. A presence shifted forward, taller, darker in hue. Older. You claim influence over what does not belong to us. Larixa did not flinch. He does not belong to you. Elias felt the weight turn toward him. Then speak, the voice said. Abandoned one. Why do you stand? Elias took a breath. Thought of the planet. The silence. The choice to stand. Because I didn't die when it was convenient, he said evenly. And I won't disappear just because it's uncomfortable. A pause. Larixa's hand found his. Fingers laced briefly, visibly. Claim made. Not ownership. Alignment. Then you will be tested again, the voice said. Not by survival. By what? Elias asked. Larixa's voice was steady. By consequence. The chamber shifted. And somewhere deep within the living structure, something ancient began to wake. The chamber reconfigured itself. Not violently. Deliberately. The curved walls shifted, opening into a long, descending corridor of light and shadow. At its far end stood a figure Elias had not seen before, smaller than the others, posture rigid, hue dulled as if leached of warmth. Larixa stiffened beside him. That is Calith, she said quietly. An arbiter. The figure raised its head. Eyes like fractured glass fixed on Elias. You are the disruption, Calith said. Not accusation. Assessment. And disruption demands cost. Elias felt the pressure immediately, not physical, but cognitive. Like being examined from the inside out. What kind of cost? He asked. Calith's gaze flicked to Larixa's hand still resting near his. Attachment, it replied. Larixa's fingers curled, instinctive. Controlled. You will not use him against me, she said. No, Calith answered. We will use you against yourself. The corridor illuminated with moving images. Not projections, not memories. Possible futures. Elias saw himself return to human space, alive but altered, forever watched. Saw Larixa standing alone in this chamber, her influence diminished, her choice erased. Saw a third path, fractured, burning, ending in violence. His breath slowed. These are probabilities, Larixa said sharply. Not fate. Correct, Calith replied. Which is why the choice must be made consciously. The arbiter stepped aside, revealing two diverging paths at the corridor's end. Sever, Calith said. Or entangle. Silence stretched. Larixa turned to Elias. For the first time since they met, her composure slipped, just slightly. If you walk away, she said, you live. Changed but intact. And if I don't? Elias asked. Her voice was barely above a whisper. Then you become part of something they will try to destroy. Elias looked at the paths. Thought of the planet. The abandonment. The choice to stand. He met her eyes. You already stood beside me, he said. I'm not making you do that alone. Larixa inhaled sharply. He stepped toward the second path. The structure reacted instantly. Light surged. The air vibrated. A low harmonic rolled through the chamber, not alarm, recognition. Calith tilted its head. Choice recorded. The paths collapsed into one. Elias felt something settle into place, not a bond, not control. Alignment. A shared vector. Larixa exhaled slowly, eyes glowing brighter than before. You understand what you've done, she said. I understand what I didn't do, Elias replied. I didn't leave. She stepped closer. This time, she didn't hesitate. Her forehead rested against his again, longer than before. The contact wasn't ceremonial now. It was grounding. You are no longer protected by neutrality, she said. Good, he answered. I was never good at being neutral. A ripple passed through the observers. Not approval. Acceptance. Then the human remains, Calith declared. Not as guest. Not as subject. The arbiter's gaze sharpened. As consequence. Larixa smiled, sharp, dangerous, proud. Later, alone again, Elias felt it. Not fear. Attention. The structure's hum had changed, deeper, more resonant. as if something old had shifted its awareness toward him. Larixa stood at the viewing aperture, watching the stars with narrowed eyes. "You feel it too?" he said. "Yes," she replied. "They haven't activated it in generations." "Activated what?" She turned. "Our oldest defense," she said. "And our greatest risk." Elias joined her, looking out into the vast dark. "And what does it want?" Larixa studied him for a long moment. "Something that chooses to stay," she said. "Even when leaving would be safer." The lights dimmed further. Far beneath the living structure, something ancient finished waking. And this time, it knew his name. Sleep did not come. Not because Elias was afraid, but because the ship was no longer merely carrying him. It was aware of him. He felt it in the way the walls responded when he moved, the subtle delay before the light adjusted, the hum aligning with his breathing rather than the other way around. "You're not imagining it," Larixa said from the doorway. She hadn't announced herself. She didn't need to. "It's listening," Elias replied. "Yes." She stepped inside, gaze scanning the chamber as if assessing a living creature. Which, in truth, she was. "The Continuum Core has registered you as a persistent anomaly," she said. "Not an intruder. Not an asset. What then?" Her jaw tightened. "A variable it cannot resolve." Elias sat up. "That sounds bad." "It is unprecedented," she said. "Which is worse?" She moved closer, lowering herself beside him. This time, there was no pretense of distance. "When my people built the core," she continued, "it was designed to preserve us. To predict threats. To eliminate futures where we fail. And now? And now it cannot determine whether you are a threat or a correction." Silence settled between them. Elias glanced at her. "Which do you think?" Larixa didn't answer immediately. "I think," she said finally, "that you are the first thing it has encountered that was not meant to exist here, and chose to anyway." Her hand found his again. This time, she didn't pull away. The challenge came faster than expected. Not from the core. From her people. The chamber filled with color-shifted forms, dozens this time, their hues sharp, agitated. Elias stood beside Larixa, no longer behind her. That mattered. "This has gone too far." A voice cut through the resonance. Younger. Angrier. "The human destabilizes the core." Larixa remained still. "The core destabilizes itself," she replied. "He merely reveals the weakness." A ripple of dissent. "You protect him because you are compromised," another voice said. "Attachment has impaired your judgment." Larixa's eyes hardened. "Attachment," she said coldly, "is not impairment. It is perspective." The speaker advanced, its hue darkening. "Then choose," it demanded. "Your authority, or the anomaly." The chamber went silent. Elias felt every gaze slide toward him. He stepped forward before Larixa could speak. "You don't need to frame this as her failure," he said evenly. "This was my choice." Murmurs. "I stayed," he continued. "Not because she ordered me to. Because leaving would have made me less than I already survived being." Larixa turned sharply. "Elias." He met her eyes. Calm. Certain. "I won't be the thing you lose to keep them comfortable," he said. The dissenting figure recoiled slightly. "You assume relevance," it said. Elias smiled faintly. "I was abandoned on a dead planet and lived," he said. "You don't scare me." The core pulsed. Once. Twice. Then. Silence. The light changed. Not alarm red. Not ceremonial glow. Something deeper. Larixa inhaled slowly. "It's intervening." The core's voice was not singular this time. It was layered. Old. Vast. "The anomaly is no longer external," it declared. "It has integrated." Shock rippled through the chamber. Integration was not authorized. one voice protested. Authorization is irrelevant, the core replied. Outcome has surpassed projection. Elias felt it then. Not pain. Connection. The ship's awareness brushed against his, careful, inquisitive. Like something ancient encountering something unpredictable and deciding not to crush it. Larixa's hand tightened around his. What does that mean? Elias asked quietly. Her voice was steady, but awe threaded through it. It means, she said, you are no longer just standing beside me. The core spoke again. The human will remain. Not as consequence. As catalyst. The chamber erupted, voices overlapping, fear and fury colliding. Larixa turned to Elias, eyes burning with something new. You've changed everything, she said. He looked at her, grounded, unafraid. So have you, he replied. The core's hum deepened. The future, once carefully contained, fractured wide open. And neither of them stepped back. They were escorted out, not as prisoners, not as guests. As liabilities. The corridors felt different now. Less curious. More alert. The structure's surfaces dimmed as they passed, the hum tightening like a held breath. Larixa did not release Elias's hand. That, more than anything, unsettled the others. They won't move against you openly, Elias said quietly as they walked. Not yet. Larixa's gaze stayed forward. No. They'll try to make me move against you. They entered her private chamber. The door sealed behind them with a sound that was final. For a moment neither spoke. Then Larixa exhaled, slow, controlled, the breath of someone who had just crossed a line she could never return from. You should be afraid, she said. Elias studied her. The set of her shoulders. The tension she hadn't let anyone else see. I am, he replied. Just not of the same things anymore. She turned to him then. Really turned. They will strip my authority in stages, she said. Advisors first. Then command access. Then. You, Elias finished. Yes. Silence stretched. Elias took a step closer. Do you regret it? Larixa searched his face, as if the answer mattered more than survival. No, she said. But I am no longer protected by tradition. She lifted her hand, hesitated, then placed it flat against his chest, feeling his heartbeat. This, she said softly, is now my greatest vulnerability. Elias covered her hand with his own. Then we protect it, he said. Together. For the first time since the core spoke, Larixa smiled without sharpness. The attempt did not come with alarms. It came with silence. Elias felt it before he understood it, the way the structure's awareness pulled inward, narrowing. Like a room holding its breath. Larixa stiffened beside him. Don't move, she said. Too late. The light fractured. Not dimmed, split. A shadow unfolded itself from the wall, its form wrong, edges too precise, color stripped down to nothing. An executor. Old. Unauthorized. Denied existence. Larixa moved instantly, stepping in front of Elias, energy flaring around her in a defensive arc. You will stand down, she commanded. The executor did not slow. The catalyst destabilizes continuity, it said. Removal restores balance. Elias felt the pressure slam into him, not force, but intent. Erasure. Larixa's voice sharpened. You will not touch him. Authority revoked, the executor replied. The chamber trembled. And then, the core intervened. Not with light. With weight. The executor froze mid-motion, crushed by an invisible presence far greater than Larixa's power. Incorrect, the core said. Removal collapses outcome. The shadow convulsed. Catalyst remains. The executor disintegrated, not violently, but absolutely. As if it had never been allowed to exist. The room fell silent again. Larixa stood rigid, breathing hard. Elias stepped forward, placing a steadying hand on her arm. They weren't bluffing, he said. No, she replied. And neither is the core. She turned to him, eyes blazing with something dangerously close to fear. They will escalate, she said. They will come for you through me. Elias met her gaze. Then let them learn, he said evenly, that I'm not something you lose. Later, alone again, Elias noticed the change. Not dramatic. Worse. He could feel the structure now, not as something around him, but as something aware of where he was. The distance between intention and response had shortened. He focused on the light. It shifted. He let out a slow breath. That's new, he muttered. Larixa watched from across the chamber, expression unreadable. The core is adapting to you, she said. Or you to it. Is that bad? Yes, she replied honestly. And necessary. She approached, stopping just short of touching him. You are becoming proof, she said, that we are not as complete as we believed. Elias looked at his hands. Still human. Still his. For what it's worth, he said, I don't feel like a weapon. Larixa's voice softened. No, she agreed. You feel like a question. She reached out then, slow, deliberate, and rested her forehead against his once more. This is the moment, she whispered, where we stop pretending this ends cleanly. Elias closed his eyes briefly. It never did, he said. Outside the chamber, unseen and unheard, alliances began to fracture. And somewhere deep within the core, a future was being rewritten around the human who refused to leave. The summons came from outside the structure. That alone made Larixa still. The core didn't initiate it, she said quietly. Elias felt the shift too, a pressure that wasn't ancient or vast, but sharp. Intentional. Political. Who did? He asked. Larixa's jaw tightened. Those who believe the core has become compromised. They arrived at the outer council chamber. An exposed ring where the living structure thinned, opening to raw void beyond reinforced membranes. This place was never meant for comfort. It was meant for endings. Figures were already waiting. Fewer than before. That worried Elias more than a crowd would have. Efficiency. You stand accused, one said, stepping forward, hue cold and dark. Not of failure. Larixa didn't move. Then speak clearly. Of refusal, the figure continued. Refusal to correct an anomaly once its cost became clear. Elias stepped forward instinctively. Larixa caught his arm. Just once. A warning. Your authority allowed the catalyst to integrate. Another voice added. You ignored containment protocol. Larixa lifted her chin. Containment is not wisdom. A low vibration rolled through the chamber, approval from some, anger from others. The human must be removed, the first voice said. Not destroyed. Elias frowned. That's supposed to be reassuring? Larixa turned sharply. They mean isolation, she said. Permanent. Outside the core. Outside me. The word landed heavier than any threat so far. No, Elias said simply. You don't get to decide that, the voice replied. Larixa's energy flared, controlled, but unmistakable. He does now. The chamber erupted in overlapping resonance. Then silence. Something else had arrived. The hum deepened, dropping below hearing and into bone. The membranes lining the chamber darkened, stars outside dimming as if veiled. The core was no longer observing. It was present. This trajectory is not permitted, the layered voice said. Relief flickered across Larixa's face, then vanished. Not permitted by whom? One counselor demanded. By outcome, the core replied. Isolation of the catalyst produces collapse across 14 projections. The chamber shook. The human will remain within proximity to Larixa, the core continued. Separation increases probability of civil fracture. That drew reaction. You would bind our stability to an outsider? Someone hissed. The core paused. Correction, it said. Stability is already bound. Elias felt it then, clearer than ever. The structure wasn't protecting him. It was protecting what he enabled. Larixa turned slowly to face the council. You wanted a verdict, she said. You have it. A figure stepped forward, smaller, older, dangerous in its restraint. Then understand this, it said. If he remains, you will no longer be shielded from consequence. Larixa's eyes never left Elias. I already am not, she replied. Back in her chamber, the silence was heavier. Larixa removed her outer mantle and let it fall, an act Elias had never seen her do. It wasn't exhaustion. It was honesty. They're right about one thing, she said quietly. I am compromised. Elias approached, careful. Because you care, he said. Because I chose, she corrected. And choice has weight here. She turned to him, eyes luminous in the dim light. If this continues, she said, they will force a moment where I must either abandon you, or abandon them. Elias swallowed. And the core? The core will allow it, she said. It predicts survival either way. That's not comforting. No, she agreed. She stepped closer, close enough that the space between them felt deliberate. You should know, she continued, that staying near me will make you a target. Not just politically. Elias met her gaze. Steady. I didn't survive abandonment just to choose it later, he said. Something in Larixa's expression shifted, subtle, dangerous, tender. She reached out, not to steady him this time, but to touch him as an equal. Her palm rested against his chest, feeling his heartbeat again. Then understand this, she said softly. If they force my hand. She leaned in, forehead touching his, breath warm, steady. I will not hesitate, she finished. Elias closed his eyes briefly, then nodded. Good, he said. Neither will I. Outside the chamber, the core adjusted projections. Inside it, 2 points of gravity aligned, no longer protected by neutrality, no longer pretending this was temporary. The fracture was no longer coming. It had arrived. It began with absence. No escorts. No observers. No subtle hum of oversight when Larixa and Elias moved through the inner corridors. The structure still breathed, but its attention was divided. They've cut my access, Larixa said quietly. Elias felt it too. The delay. The way the walls no longer anticipated her presence. Not fully, he said. Just enough. To see what breaks. She agreed. They reached a junction that should have opened automatically. It didn't. The light dimmed instead. Larixa stopped, one hand lifting slightly, not to shield him, but to signal stillness. Then the corridor ahead peeled open. Not grown. Torn. Figures emerged. 5 of them, colors muted, forms rigid with purpose. Executors again, but not ancient. New. Unauthorized in a different way. You were warned, the lead figure said. This path ends in loss. Larixa's voice was calm. So does every path. The human comes with us. It continued. Alive. Elias stepped forward before Larixa could react. No, he said evenly. The air tightened. You misunderstand, the figure replied. This is no longer a request. Larixa's energy flared, brilliant, sharp. But the executors didn't move. They weren't afraid of her. They were prepared for her. Elias felt it clearly now. The core wasn't silent. It was waiting. Not for permission. For alignment. He exhaled slowly, and let the awareness in. The corridor reacted instantly. Not violently. Precisely. The floor beneath the executors stalled, density shifting just enough to arrest movement. Not a trap. A pause. Larixa turned sharply. Elias. I know, he said. I felt it before. I just didn't answer. The executors strained, surprised, not panicked. You are not authorized, one hissed. Elias met its gaze. Neither are you, he replied. The Corps' presence brushed him again, curious, approving, restrained. Larixa stared at him, something raw flashing across her features. You touched it, she said. He nodded. It touched back. The lead executor recalibrated. Then containment must escalate. Energy surged. And Larixa moved. She didn't strike. She commanded. The air bent around her voice, the structure responding not as a tool, but as something that remembered who shaped it. Stand down, Larixa said. 2 executors faltered. The others pushed forward. Elias felt the moment fracture, futures branching too fast to track. Instinct took over. He reached, not outward but inward, toward the place the core had touched. The corridor rearranged. Walls slid. Light collapsed. Space folded just enough. The executors found themselves separated. Isolated in individual containment fields grown from the structure itself. Silence followed. Larixa's breathing was steady, but her eyes were bright, intense, locked on him. You shouldn't be able to do that, she said. I didn't know I could, he replied honestly. The Corps spoke, not aloud, but through the structure. Alignment confirmed. Catalyst response within acceptable deviation. Larixa's jaw tightened. That's not comforting, she muttered. They didn't celebrate. They moved. Fast. Larixa pulled him into a side corridor that sealed behind them, layers of organic shielding sliding into place. They will call this treason, she said. From both of us. Elias leaned against the wall, heart pounding, but not from fear. Did I just start a civil war? He asked. Larixa looked at him for a long moment. No, she said quietly. You made one unavoidable. She stepped closer, hands resting on his shoulders, steadying, grounding, real. I told you this wouldn't end cleanly, she said. Elias met her gaze. I didn't stay for clean. Something fierce and unmistakable crossed her face. Good, she said. Because now they know. Know what? That you are not leverage, she replied. You are not bait. Her hands slid briefly, intentionally, to his forearms, a silent acknowledgement. You are a participant. The structure hummed, lower, deeper, like a drumbeat. Somewhere above them, alliances collapsed. Orders were rewritten. And for the first time in generations, the Corps adjusted its highest level projection, not to preserve the species as it was, but to see what it might become. Later, briefly alone again, Elias stood at the aperture, stars burning cold beyond the membrane. Larixa joined him, her presence immediate, grounding. You crossed a line today, she said. So did you, he replied. She nodded. Yes. Silence stretched, charged, heavy, honest. If I tell you to leave now, she said slowly, it will be because staying will destroy what I am. Elias didn't look away. And if I stay, he said, it'll be because leaving would destroy what I am. Larixa turned to him, eyes luminous. Then understand this, she said. From this moment on. She placed her hand over his heart, firm, deliberate. There is no version of the future where we pretend this was accidental. Elias covered her hand with his own. Good, he said softly. I'm done being an accident. The Corps' hum deepened. The coup had failed, but the war had begun. And this time, the future was not being decided about him. It was being decided with him. The Corps woke fully. Not abruptly. Not violently. Deliberately. Elias felt it before any alarm, an expansion of awareness, like pressure equalizing across something impossibly vast. The hum deepened into a layered resonance that threaded through the structure, the void beyond it, and him. Larixa stiffened. That's not internal, she said. Elias frowned. What isn't? She turned toward the central axis, eyes narrowing. The core just opened an outbound channel. Silence followed. Then realization struck. Outbound to where? Elias asked. Larixa didn't answer immediately. Her voice, when it came, was controlled, but tight. To every listening system we ever catalogued, she said. Including yours. Elias's breath caught. Earth? Yes. The structure's outer membrane shimmered, faint patterns rippling across them like echoes of language older than translation. They're going to see it, Elias said. A signal they can't ignore. They already have, Larixa replied. The core doesn't whisper. She turned to him fully now. It just changed your species' place in the universe, she said. Without asking. The core's projection filled the chamber. Not an image, not sound. Intent. Elias felt the message before he understood it. Not coordinates. Not demands. Not threat. Recognition. They'll interpret it as first contact, Elias said slowly. Yes, Larixa replied. And as escalation. Her gaze sharpened. You were not meant to be the bridge, she said. You were meant to be an anomaly that faded. Elias let out a breath that was almost a laugh. Story of my life. The chamber vibrated again, short, sharp. That's a response, Elias said. Larixa's eyes widened slightly. That was fast, she murmured. She moved to the aperture, studying the unfolding data streams. They're not responding with language, she said. They're responding with attention. Elias joined her. Earth doesn't do subtle, he said. No, she agreed. Neither do we. The first internal fallout was immediate. Multiple corridors sealed across the structure, not defensively, but politically. Control nodes went dark. Others flared back online under unfamiliar command signatures. Larixa exhaled slowly. They've declared emergency sovereignty, she said. Overriding my authority. Elias felt the core shift again, not resisting, but recalculating. And the core? He asked. It's allowing it, she said. Because conflict produces data. That's comforting, Elias muttered. Larixa met his gaze. This is the point where I ask you something, she said. He waited. If you stay, she continued, you become the reason they justify everything that follows. Militarization. Expansion. Preemptive force. And if I go? Elias asked. She hesitated. Then you become a symbol they no longer control, she said. And Earth becomes afraid. Silence settled, heavy, real. Elias stared out at the stars, at home, somewhere among them. I didn't ask to matter this much, he said quietly. Larixa stepped closer. None of us ever do. The core spoke, not aloud, but with finality. Divergence required. Probability balance demands physical distance. Larixa closed her eyes briefly. So this is where it forces our hand, she said. Elias felt it too, the pull, subtle but unmistakable. Paths splitting. You're saying it wants me to leave, he said. Yes, she replied. Not because you're expendable. Because I'm dangerous, he finished. She looked at him sharply. Because you matter. She stepped closer, closer than she had since the beginning. No ceremony. No restraint. If you go, she said, voice low, steady, you will not be protected by us. Or the core. Elias met her gaze. And if I stay? Her expression softened, just a fraction. Then I lose the last leverage keeping this from becoming war, she said. They stood there, two gravitational centers pulling the future apart. Elias took a slow breath. Then I'll go, he said. Larixa froze. What? She whispered. I didn't survive abandonment just to cause it, he continued. Not to you. Not to them. Not to Earth. Her composure cracked, just barely. You don't know what waits for you, she said. He reached out, resting his forehead against hers one last time. I do, he replied softly. The unknown. The departure chamber was smaller than he expected. No guards. No spectacle. Larixa stood with him as the craft formed around its launch frame, organic, unfamiliar, built for distance. This isn't goodbye, she said. No, Elias agreed. It's a pause. She studied him, memorizing, maybe, or anchoring something she refused to lose. You changed us, she said. Even if we never see you again. He smiled faintly. Good. She placed something in his hand, warm, faintly luminous. A key, she said. Not to a place. To me. He realized. She nodded. If the future allows, she said, you will return. Elias stepped into the craft. The structure sealed around him. As it detached, Larixa remained, alone now, but unbowed. The core adjusted its projections again. Earth watched the stars, unaware that one of its lost had become a question the universe could not unask. And Elias, catalyst and consequence, vanished into the dark. Not as an accident, but as a beginning.